So once you come back from your run or whatever exercise it is that you're doing, you can start with a quadricep stretch. If you need to grab something to balance on next to you, go ahead, chair, wall, a railing, anything like that. I'm going to grab the ankle, pull it up behind you, and stretch out those quads. So you want to make sure that the lower back is not arching and that tailbone is tucked under by activating those tummy muscles, and then drawing the knee backwards behind the other knee, but keeping the knees together, and you really don't want to arch the back. To save having to lie on the ground after a race, which you never know where it could be, you're going to do a standing triangle pose to stretch out the hamstrings. So making sure the feet are hip distance apart on train tracks. We're going to fold forward, reaching the hands down the shin towards the foot, keeping the legs nice and straight, and also trying to keep the spine as straight as possible. So you want to tilt forwards from the pelvis, lengthening extra down the back of those hamstrings, and then only folding as far forward as you can actually maintain a straight back, thinking about sending your tummy towards your thighs and opening up the chest. For your figure 4 stretch, to stretch out the glutes, you're going to cross one ankle over the opposite knee. Again, you can use something to balance on, something to hold on to keep your balance, bringing that heel up nice and tight into the hip. The higher you bring it, the more it should stretch, and then pressing that knee open to really get a stretch into the glutes. The more you stick your bum out and untuck that tailbone, there we go, the more it is going to stretch into the bum. So if you keep that tailbone tucked, you won't get the stretch over that hip socket, hip joint into the glute so much. Interlacing the fingers, press the palms forward and draw them overhead. The more you keep the tailbone tucked and arch into that upper back, the more it's going to stretch nicely down the lats. And then you can lean side to side, which is going to give you a big stretch into the waist, into your obliques, into the intercostals, lats as well, armpits, maybe up into the triceps. Whatever's tightest is going to stretch first. And if you want to, you can pull the hands more forward so you get a stretch more into the QL, but doing whatever feels comfortable and whatever gets you the best stretch. You may even stretch over the outside of the hip as well. Separating the feet apart and keeping those toes straight forwards or turned slightly in. Just going to fold forwards towards the ground, keeping the hips nice and square. You can take the head towards one knee at a time, which is going to stretch a little bit more into the lower back. Try not to shift the hips too much side to side, as this will reduce the hamstring stretch as well. Another nice standing stretch, so you don't have to get on the ground, is the hip flexor stretch in a high lunge position. Again, feet are on train tracks, 1 foot forward. You want to make sure that the front knee doesn't go past the toes. You want to keep it more at a 90-degree angle, and then keep that tailbone tucked, pulling away from the front of that thigh in your standing hip flexor stretch. This is another stretch that you might want to use something for balance, particularly if it's been a really, really hard run and your leg's tired. So when you're lunging, you might find that front thigh starts to burn a bit from holding the lunge. Grabbing one wrist behind you, you're going to pull the hands in and then pull the head away, pulling the shoulder down away from the ear, and you can just rock that chin forward and feel the stretch into the traps and neck, so the tops of the shoulders and down the neck and up towards the ears. This is one you can also do at your desk when you're working, but it's also nice, especially if you've been carrying those heavy arms and shoulders whilst you're bouncing on your run. The neck can get a little bit tired, so give this one a go. Then reaching one arm up in between the shoulder blades, using the other arm to push the hand down between the shoulder blades, stretching out the triceps and maybe even a little bit into the lats and shoulder blades. And if you want to increase it that little bit more down into the rib cage, you can bend over to the side. Then interlacing the fingers behind the back, trying to keep the palms together if you can, straighten out the elbows and then pull the hands away from the bum, really opening the chest, rolling open the shoulders.